We know beforehand that when we add all of the moments or all the couples together, it has to sum to 0. And we're in 3D, so it's actually the 0 vector. So the couple contribution or the moment contribution due to each of them, when we add them all up, is going to be 0i plus 0j plus 0k. So we need to find what's the magnitude m2 and m3 that makes this true. And M1 we're given 300 Newton meters. So this gearbox has these 3 moments acting on it. M1 we're given. I'm going to represent this as double-headed arrows instead of these curled arrows, which in 3D are sometimes difficult to know what direction they're supposed to be. But they're going to mean the same thing. If we see what this blue arrow is doing, if we put our thumb along that axis, the direction of the arrow indicates the direction of the twisting. So in this case, we're twisting counterclockwise around what is going to be our negative y-axis. Right, so either I can draw that axis here and put the round arrow, or I can use a double-headed arrow to indicate the same thing. So with the double-headed arrow, that means we put our thumb in the direction of the double-headed arrow, and the way that our fingers curl is going to be the direction of the twisting. So again, this double-headed arrow means the same thing as the rounded arrow. And this has a value of 300 Newton meters. So like a force, it shows the direction and the magnitude, but this is the axis it twists about, not the axis it pushes or pulls about like we would see with a force. We can then represent M3, which we see that if we put our thumb to the left and we curl our fingers around the direction of that blue arrow, that this is going to be twisting around the negative x direction. And I will also indicate this with a double-headed arrow. And we don't know its magnitude, but we do know its direction. And finally, we have this M2 that's operating at this 45-degree angle that we're twisting it at. So if we put our thumb along that 45-degree axis and we have a twisting in that direction, I can represent that too as just a double-head arrow, 45 degrees from the horizontal, with a magnitude that I need to find of M2. So these are the 3 couples or the 3 twistings that are acting on our object. And we know that the net result of all 3 of these twists happening is going to be 0. So they each can twist, all of these gears can turn, but the net effect on our object is that the net couple is going to be 0. So if I add this all up to form one couple, I can add M1 plus M2 plus M3. And I know that it's going to be 0i plus 0j plus 0k. But like we do with forces, I can break it up into how much is along the x, the y, and the z. But this is now telling you how much twisting is there around the x, the y, or z, not how much force is there along each. So I can break it up into scalar equations here. I can find that around the x-axis, the net amount is going to be 0. So I want to look here at what are all of the moments that have a component along my x-axis, or some of its twisting around the x-axis. So if I look here, I have the 300 Newton meters, which only has a twisting around the y-axis. So it will not be in this equation. M3, similar to how we saw forces, is twisting around the negative x-axis, and all of it is twisting around that. So in negative M3, all of it twists around x, but the negative x direction. And then similar to if this were a force problem, some of M2 is twisting around x, some of it is around y. We can break it down into just how much is along x, which would be its magnitude times cosine 45 degrees. We have 2 unknowns, M2 and M3. Our left-hand side is 0. But we can also look at the components that twist around the y-axis and set that equal to 0. Same idea as with forces. This 300 is twisting around the negative y-axis. M3 does not twist around y at all. And M2 is going to be M2 sine 45, is how much of that twists just around the y. Equation 2, the only unknown there is going to be M2. So we can find that M2 has to be 424. This 300 is in Newton meters, so is this. And then going up and solving equation 1, the only remaining unknown is M3. So M3 has to be 300 Newton meters. So if both of these are true, the net twist, or the net couple, is going to be 0, 0i, 0j, 0k.